Howdy, everybody. The world's a better place because you are here to join us. My name is Matt Brown, and I am the host of the Productive Conversations podcast. And it is a Wednesday, the 5th of February, 2025. And this is the annual Productive Conversations preview of the Super Bowl. Super Bowl 59 is taking place this Sunday, the 12th of February. Yes, 12th of February. I got that right.
Yes.
Sorry, I missed that. Nope.
It's
Let me
not the 12th?
restart that. Super Bowl 59 taking place in New Orleans on the 9th of
Ninth.
February, 6:30 Fox. And like the matchup or not, it's still the Super Bowl. And we will do what we do every year and preview it. We got prop bets for you. We got picks against the spread. And as we say goodbye to the NFL season, as we say goodbye to the football season, let us have one more solid game that can at least win us some money. Because I don't know about you guys, this matchup, though subjectively is good on paper,
Mhm.
it fucking sucks, and we'll talk all about it. But before we get into that, and in all seriousness, and talk about and preview this Super Bowl and all the fun we're about to have with that, I just want to remind you to like and subscribe to the Productive Conversations podcast on all podcast platforms and YouTube. And don't forget to check out exclusive content regarding the show across all social media platforms. We're on Instagram at Productive Conversations Podcast, X and Twitter at ProdConvoPod. We're on TikTok at Productive Conversations and Facebook at Productive Conversations. So, who's going to preview the Super Bowl with me? It's Ryan and the great Alec Reeves. What's up, guys?
How's it
How we
going?
doing,
Happy to
bud?
be here.
Let's
Happy to
go.
be happy to have you both here, and it's going to be a lot of fun. This is the podcast's fourth Super Bowl that we have previewed, and let's keep the tradition going. So here we are, guys. The AFC will be represented by the Kansas City Chiefs. They are going for the three-peat. They're going for their fourth Super Bowl in 7 years. No, fourth Super Bowl in fourth Super Bowl in 7 years. We have the
Wow.
Philadelphia Eagles back in the Super Bowl, representing the NFC, getting in the game for the first time, for the second time in 2 years. And this is what we have: the Chiefs and the Eagles. And again, let's be honest, this matchup, though on paper, no doubt, is going to be fun to watch. We have a great offensive team versus a great defensive team. We have future Hall of Famers on both sides of the ball. And though we might have just missed the very two best teams in each conference going against each other, you have the number one seed in the AFC taking on the number two seed in the NFC. That's
Mhm.
great. But on the contrary, you do
Mhm.
have one franchise in the Chiefs, though going for a three-peat. A lot of their wins, as I've said, and I've said fairly, they have had a lot of calls go their way.
Oh
They've
yeah.
had a narrative grow that the refs help the Chiefs. I will show you some clips to where now Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce are straight up getting questioned about it, and
Yep.
rightfully so. But they don't need the refs, but it's aggravating that they get every damn call their way. And people are tired of it. It's not like Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce are likable dude. I mean, they're likable dudes, but like they're nobody to look. You know what I mean? Like they're likable dudes in a way, but
Right. Yeah,
but
they conduct themselves pretty professionally.
exactly. But it's just like sometimes they're a little too cocky, sometimes they're a little too aggravating. It's all a big mess, but
Oh
it
yeah.
is what it is, right? But then we have the Eagles, and again, very entertaining team. What that GM Howard Eskin has created is damn right impressive on both sides of the ball, with Nick Sirianni back in the realm. And, they made the ultimate pickup in signing Saquon Barkley this year. If it wasn't for their fans, honestly, it's a fan base, then if it wasn't for the fan base, maybe there'd be some more sympathy, but it is what it is. A rematch from 2 years ago. I literally had big fights with both fan bases 2 years ago. That was the first time we hit any virality, and yet we're here again. But yeah, Super Bowl 59. Let me ask you guys quick. Buzz or no buzz for the Super Bowl?
Weird
Uh,
question. I would say
Right?
buzz. It's buzz, but it's almost
Because of the tradition.
sure, but also like anti-buzz. You know what I mean? Like
right,
people
right,
are talking about it, but a lot of it's negative. Like we saw
Yeah.
right.
the Chiefs press conference or whatever. The reporters were asking Mahomes and Kelsey about the ref stuff, and so
Yeah.
Mhm.
like a
Which
lot of
I
people are
loved.
talking. It was pretty unprofessional, but it was very funny. So like
Mhm.
you could
Who's
weigh
your
out the pros and
favorite rep?
cons.
Patrick Mahomes?
Yeah, right.
He was not
And so
he was
it's
not
like
about that.
right. So it's like people are talking about it, but look at what they're saying. It's not positive. People are not
Mhm.
excited. And Eagles aren't getting the same level of like hate per se. They did before it was Eagles Chiefs because of how just horrific their fans are to everyone all the time. But
All the time.
I think it's really become like the tale is like the Eagles. You heard the Philadelphia mayor for that couldn't spell Eagles.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
become like that joke of like they can't even spell Eagles, the fans, and the refs are just helping Kansas City. So it's like
Right.
people are talking a lot about this, but none of it's particularly positive.
Right, right. When you would think the whole talk would be about the three-peat or like making
Right.
history.
Yeah.
Right.
Instead, it's like, no, they should not even be here. Like, do we really have to watch this shit again? And it's
Right.
like,
Yep.
it should be positive. Obviously, nobody really likes the Eagles except the Eagles fans and the Chiefs. I don't know. There's some people that, I guess don't they think the ref thing's blown way out of proportion, which you could argue it is, but realistically, it's not. I mean, the calls in the Bills game and
Hmm.
throughout his career have just been insane. But
Numbers
but
show.
like yeah, like Ryan said, bro, like it should be it should be a lot more excitement and things like that for this game, positive things. But instead, everyone is just it's a lot of negative stuff out there about, Kelsey and Taylor Swift and the Chiefs and Eagles fans. And yeah, it's not
Yeah.
a usual Super Bowl.
Even the Taylor Swift stuff has actually gone like fairly quiet. Like, because as
Hmm.
much as
We've
that
had
wasn't
enough.
this, well, that too, but I'm saying like as much as that wasn't about football, it was still, for the most part, like it had some positive, like not everybody. A lot of people hated it, but a lot
Yeah.
of people liked it. That's why it was happening because there's plenty of people tuning in because of her. And so, like, like there was at least some positive virality there with her, and people are not even talking about that. Like, you know
No,
what I mean?
they
Like,
literally
this is
can't.
straight up just about how much people don't like that the Chiefs are in this game again, which I actually think will ultimately be beneficial to the NFL. I don't know if this again. I don't. We said this on our show last time, right? When we talked about the refs. I don't know that the Bills played well enough to win that game,
Yeah.
even
They
without those
didn't.
calls.
They didn't. That's the
Right.
sad truth.
And so realistically, I don't think that even with like those calls are something for people who are upset about the Chiefs to talk about, but they're not the reason we're here. Um, and I
Exactly.
would
Yeah.
argue, like by and large, if you look at the career that the Chiefs have had with Mahomes, you know, as the quarterback, as QB1, you can look at these and say he's getting a lot of calls, and that's true, but he's also winning a lot of games like
Yeah. He's
without the
the ultimate
calls.
knows how to win.
Right. And so it's like
Exactly.
it's really hard to sit there and say, "Oh, without the refs they wouldn't be here," because it's there's as much as there's a lot of evidence that anytime there's a close call, they try to give it to the Chiefs. And I think that's
Hmm.
fair to say. Like I
Yep.
don't believe that that's unfair. It's also fair to say that none of the games that they win are so close that it's impossible to imagine the Chiefs would have won regardless of the call. Like the Chiefs have never been so outmatched that the referees helped like force them to win.
Yeah.
But that's kind of like neither here nor there. My point is that it's giving people something to talk about because I think if we don't talk about that, a lot of people are bored. I don't think the three-peat is something that people care about.
No, I
And
don't think so
honestly,
either.
and to be honest with you though, like speaking as someone who's a fan, part of a fan base that hasn't had a Super Bowl since well before I was born, why would I care if the Chiefs get a three-peat?
Right.
Like I know
Yeah.
that football's got the biggest fan base nationally in like the country, but like it's
Mhm.
still regional at heart. Like I'm from the Northeast. I lived in the tri-state area, and I'm a Jets fan. And I don't live there anymore, but I didn't suddenly become a Commanders fan because I moved down to the DMV. I'm still a Jets fan. I'm just a Jets fan who lives in the DC area. And so, like,
Right.
I don't, it's fun. In fairness, I wanted the Commanders to make it because if they had won the Super Bowl, I could go to a parade and that would have been fun. But other than that,
Yeah.
like, I had no real stakes in this, and I went to school up north, so I've always kind of liked Buffalo just because they were on TV a lot when I was in college.
Yeah.
But like, it's like I don't really care if those teams do well. I would like to see the Jets do well. So
Of
anyone who's
course.
not a Kansas City fan has no reason to to cheer on a three-peat, to be interested in the three-peat.
No,
Like, yeah,
absolutely
okay,
not.
a team that's not my team made history. Cool.
Mhm.
Exactly. That's all you could say. It's
Like,
cool. And
cool. Like, you know what I mean? It's not so I think that they really overplayed the importance of the three-peat, but
Mhm.
what they've lucked into, and unfortunately for them, the Eagles are just so hated that
yeah,
they can't
right.
take care. Because if it was another team, if the Eagles, like if the Commanders had one, this would be easy. People would be ecstatic for this game because it'd be an underdog team trying to stop the three-peat, and that's
You
people
think
would get
so?
behind that. I promise they would.
Yeah, I
And
I
honestly
don't know because the only reason I say I don't know about that is I just think a lot of people genuinely would know the Chiefs would handle the Commanders. This at least has the promise of a close game on paper. Anyway,
I'm
obviously it
sure,
can.
but I think we know what's going to happen, right? Like let's not. We
What
all.
with
I
this
saw our
game?
picks. Yeah, I saw all of our picks beforehand. We all
I
picked the
mean,
same on the
I
spread,
would
I believe.
say,
But
yeah, no, but I honestly though I could pick either way. I really think this is a toss-up kind of game, and it
okay,
really I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and say that Vegas got it wrong because I'm sure they got it right. I actually heard a stat that said they really have not gotten the Super Bowl spread wrong since like the 90s. Like they nail it almost every year in terms of the spread, and there's a reason it hasn't moved
right, because
because
they got it.
the Chiefs are gonna end up
Yeah,
winning by 1 or 2 points on a
right.
last second fucking Pat Mahomes fucking
Field goal
run or
thing or a
something.
run. Yeah,
Right. It's like we probably know that'll happen, but the only going back to that point, I just think the Eagles probably have the most weapons offensively to match up them and the
sure.
Lions, you got to be able to score and having Barkley is a major X factor. Obviously he's carried them throughout the playoffs, so if he has a big game, it's gonna be tough to slow them down, but they put up what 50, 55 points on the Commanders. That's
Oh
unheard
no,
of.
they absolutely smacked down the
That
Commanders.
was
So
yeah, right
I was
after
using
as
the
soon as they gave
Commanders,
up.
yeah, almost as like a just a because they were the other team in the final weeks here. But I do
right.
think, I mean, obviously the sports aspect of it is the sports aspect. We're about to get into the prop bets and whatnot, but there's a TV
Mhm.
aspect to this that I do think plays more of a role than people care to admit. No, I'm not saying it's
Mhm.
scripted. It's not scripted.
No,
But when you're working with when you're working on TV, you do need a narrative. And you need to sell a narrative. And there are
of
narratives that are
course.
easier to sell than others. This narrative is the jackasses you never liked versus the assholes who never lose. There is nothing narratively compelling about this. Everyone hates these two teams. Part of it because these two teams are two of the best and they beat up everybody else's team and nobody likes to cheer for their bully, right?
Mhm.
And so that's why I'm like, from a narrative perspective, first rookie quarterback to potentially win the Super Bowl,
That is
came in out
true.
of nowhere going against the three-peat like Kansas City Chiefs. So the long odds mean that
Right.
there's a lock on the line for, a lot of pressure. Can he stand up to it? Like if I was trying to pitch one of the games, that would probably genuinely, as much as I liked the Bills and I was rooting for the Bills to beat the Chiefs, that would be the game that I'd be cheering for. That's the game that's the easiest to sell. You've got one big
That's
market
a good
team as
point.
well in DC. That's a fairly big market. You obviously
Yeah.
got the Chiefs, which are kind of beyond markets, so to speak. And you've got the rookie quarterback. You've got the underdog team. You've got the three-peat. you've got all these other pieces. And I do think that the problem
And a
with
franchise
this,
who hasn't been there in over 30
right,
years.
yeah, exactly. And whereas like these two franchises have been here recently against each other. So it's
Right.
like,
Just 2 years
That's a
ago.
great point.
yeah. And so I do think that a lot of the lack of interest is coming from just how boring. Other than, again, from the perspective of like roster members, they match up quite well. They've both got very good quarterbacks. They both got a decent runners. They both have got weapons who can catch the ball, right?
Mhm.
So like from that perspective, yes, obviously you look at it like this will be a close game, this will be a good game, but from every other perspective, all those
Yeah.
intangibles that are hard to measure that make for
Mhm.
compelling television, it doesn't meet a single one of those. And I
Right.
think that's more than anything why nobody's going to pay to watch it, or no one's trying to pay to watch it. The price is coming down. And I think we're going to find out that this is going to be one of the lower watched Super Bowls. I don't think this is going to be a particularly well watched Super Bowl. Now, if the three-peat's closing in, maybe at the end, some folks will come back and turn it on just to see that and see what they say because it is history, whether you like it or not, as a fan of another team. But I think that by and
Yeah.
large, this is going to have far less eyeballs than even last year did.
Hmm.
Excellent points, Ryan. And yeah, it's just this is probably the first, and I assume will be the only Super Bowl I am looking forward for the ending. That is all. And honestly,
The
as soon as
ending.
it's done,
The
I
commercials.
can't wait for this damn game
Commercials.
to be over. And again, I'm gonna be as hard as I usually am because football is my favorite sport. Now, live, breathe, and die football, as I do with my other
Yeah.
sports. But I just really love football. But once it's over, getting ready to focus on that draft, honestly. And I'm ready to do it all over again. Just a
National
little more
Signing Day is
excited.
soon, Matt. We got to pay attention to that too.
Yes, that
Yeah.
too. Uh,
Dude, that's a great point, though. I mean, about the Commanders, I didn't really think about the whole narrative of the rookie first Super Bowl
Mhm.
ever leads his team to a Super Bowl. That in itself would be insane. But
Right.
then to match up against an absolute dynasty of a fucking franchise with Andy
Mhm.
Reid and the curse of Taylor Swift and all the demons and all the fucking the refs,
Right.
all the voodoo that the Chiefs pull off. It's almost like a magic trick. Like every time they go out they could sleepwalk and somehow they'll be down like 1 point with a minute left and
Right.
fucking
Yeah.
so
like
sus.
I'm like,
You
how the
know,
fuck are we doing this again?
and
Again, again, it's the part. Yeah.
people will always push, you know, a conspiracy against it like this. And ultimately, the Tim Donaghy, I brought him up. I'm bringing him up again. I feel like I've brought him up a couple times in the past couple of weeks. The idea of a major sports league having true corruption within its officials. And though him admitting on camera, it wasn't necessarily that they would, it wasn't necessarily that they are fixing the game, but they are going to manipulate it in a way so that a team has an advantage. So this is specifically basketball, though, and he referred to the Allen Iverson story that they were mad at him and like
Mhm.
we're just every little move that we could get a foul on him, we're calling the foul, and he got fucked over. And the Sacramento Kings LA Lakers story. There's the
Mhm.
30 for 30
Mhm.
on it. They're up by 20 in half of game 7 and they just gave them all the fucking fouls so they can shoot to come back and then they let it unfold there. And
I
now
have
to
one.
the
Yeah.
point where Mahomes, I definitely want to hear your point, Ryan. Just last thing.
Mhm.
And the fact that now journalists are straight up asking Mahomes and Kelsey at this point, hey, you know who you guys have the edge. The refs and you guys are synonymous with each other right now. And they're
Mhm.
getting pissed. Roger Goodell got questioned about it. He was aggravated. They are trying to implement a new rule, a replay rule for expedited replay regarding close calls and first downs and creating
Mhm.
new first down technology because enough is enough. You are starting to really turn people off on the king of all sports. Heck, the king
Mhm.
in all of media is the NFL in a way.
Yep. It's always the highest rated show every year.
And
Oh
now
yeah.
you are really angering people where you're starting to lose trust.
Mhm.
And they have no choice now. And if this game's close, I bet deep down they do not want this game to be close. They
No.
want the spread to be open. Because
Yeah.
if it is,
That's
it is.
true.
If it happens again,
People
he's
will be
like,
mad.
good for you. But we'll never be looked at like, wow. And no bias aside, like the last three-peat that's ever happened in sports was the Yankees, late 90s,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
and that's a hard sport to rig.
Yeah, well, that many
Naturally,
games, right?
It's
But
pretty much impossible to rig
yeah,
right.
baseball.
But the idea, I feel like the Yankees are. It might be hard for me. Obviously, I have bias for it, but the last three, Pete, I feel like sure people hated the Yankees and were glad to see them lose, but they don't look at Jeter as like, oh, look at you. They can't say you had the refs help you.
no,
He somehow
Absolutely
got in the
not.
right
no,
place at the
yeah,
right time. And you have to
yeah.
tip your hat off of that. Mahomes, I just don't think, despite him arguably being one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, Tom Brady will always have that GOAT status, in my opinion, even if he passed 8, because, well, Tom Brady only had the refs help him one time, the tuck rule. Mahomes has it too many times.
I do think that's overblown. I think that that'll go away personally. But I will say this with the ref thing, kind of what you were saying about the advantage, and the advantage coming in some cases from the ref's personal dislike of a player. And I'm not telling anyone in the NFL what to do, but I just saw James Cook was asked about this game, giving predictions, and he said, "Fuck both of them." He said,
Good.
"Fuck both of them." Right. Well, good. And he's been complaining about the
Wow.
refs. Other people complaining about the refs in this game.
He said
Quick,
that?
yeah. Quickest way to get the refs to call everything on you and nothing on your opponent
Yeah.
is to shit talk the refs. Okay? And again, the media, oh, the refs are in your pocket. The refs are you know what the refs are going to do if you keep attacking them? They're going to help the people who are not mean to them, which
You're going
happens
to
to
do it.
be just the Kansas City Chiefs. So I will say this: like
Yeah.
part of the issue is that if we're going to sit here and dick on the refs, be like you mother effers, okay, they're going to help the Chiefs. Then I mean, if they're going to
Well,
get called out for it, they might
what's
as well
different?
do
What's
it.
different? Keep it going. At least this time you'll get called out for it.
No, but I'm saying that's what I'm saying. It's an unending cycle because you're attacking the refs. They're never going to stop helping the only team that's not attacking them. You know
That's
what I mean?
true.
Like they're never going to be like, oh, these are the only people nice to us. We're going to call everything on them. Like they're always, if they're going to have bias, human beings have bias, every single one of us, then they're going to
Yep.
give the bias to the people who aren't mean to them, which happens to just be Kansas City.
Well, they're not mean to
So
them because, well, they helped them
because
in the
they're getting
first
help, right?
place.
So it's because it's a vicious cycle. You know what I mean? Like everyone who does is not Kansas City is mad at the refs, and the refs are mad at everybody for being mad at them for helping Kansas City. So it just becomes this
It's just
horrible
a
cycle.
cycle.
Yeah, you can't break it. So that would be my advice. Is it maybe crazy? Sure. Is it kind of nonsense? Perhaps. But
You know what's also
if you blow
interesting?
out the Chiefs, then the refs can't help them. That's what I
I,
would say.
does anyone else have anything else on this in the game before we go through with our props? Because I have one more thing.
Yeah, I just got one thing about the ref thing. It's like
Yeah.
we're all human. Refs, umpires, refs in any league, they have emotions. They have bias. We all have a bias that we may or may not acknowledge. Oh,
Hmm.
they're fans of athletes too. You don't think some of those refs admire Mahomes or admire Allen, and maybe we'll give them a favorable call every now and then. We're all human. There's gonna be bias ingrained in us from the moment we fall into sports and start watching them. So just keep that in mind. And it's a very difficult job. I'm not out here saying the refs are trash, but some of these calls are egregious and they're
Hmm.
awful. But you also have to look at it from a marketing standpoint. This is business, and I think the refs, they acknowledge that Mahomes is king of the NFL in terms of revenue, in terms of I don't know about revenue, I should say, but in terms of just phenomenal play, consistently winning, it's similar to Brady in that they're gonna get great quarterbacks are gonna get some favorable calls. It's just how it
As
is.
Brady
Like
did too. Yes.
exactly. So just keep that in mind. I mean, but you got to be careful talking about the integrity of the game, and you would hope everyone's on the straight and narrow. This shit is legit, and no one's getting paid under the table for doing certain things or making certain calls. But that's definitely been the major story, I would say, with the
Right.
last. I don't even know when did this start, the whole fucking ref thing. I mean, how long have we been talking
This
about
has been all season, and I'll say
So I was
all
just looking at a
season.
clip. This
Yeah.
at least started after this at least started at least in the last 2 years. The last 2 years, because I have a whole clip of me complaining about the Bengals and Chiefs. It was the AFC game, AFC Championship 2023. So at least
Mhm.
we've been complaining about it for 3 years at least. I feel like that's
Okay,
when it kind of started. Um,
that's interesting.
The
yeah,
three
yeah,
peat.
yeah. When it started,
When
at
the first
least
of the three peat. Yeah.
then, yeah. So last 3 years.
Right.
Not helping the allegations that the call started right when the three peat would have started.
Yeah,
They
Yeah,
helped him
I
right.
get
said I
they
sent
helped
you
him
the
get one Super
screenshot
Bowl and
that
three
that we
more.
used that clip of the blind ref.
Yeah. No,
So
it's
at
I
least
mean,
the last 3 years.
hey, like I said, in terms of narrative, they've built the biggest villain they possibly could have built. Um, and next year, if the Chiefs are good, and I'm presuming they will be because they usually are, there's going to be a lot of interest in like who can dethrone the Chiefs, keep them out of that. There'll be two times. There'll be one because they've been to seven, right? AFC Championship games and won like six of them or something,
Yeah.
something to that effect, or
What was that?
6 and 5. They've won what six? They've been to like six AFC Championship games, won five of them,
Yeah,
right?
Not too
7.
So,
shabby.
and if they get the next AFC Championship game, then I believe they pass Brady or match him. Mahomes does something to that effect.
So
Um,
Brady has won 9 AFC championships and
but
won
then
one
maybe
NFC championship.
interesting. I'm not sure. Then I thought that would they said they would match, but maybe not. But even still, someone stopping them from getting to that championship game for the first time in what 7 years, that'll be big. And then of course the Super Bowl if they
Mm.
make it to that, whoever is playing against them, as long as it's not a hated franchise like the Philadelphia Eagles, will probably be the country's favorite. The fact that anyone's cheering, myself included, for the Chiefs is simply down to the fact that the Eagles just really are horrible.
Hmm.
I mean, yeah,
uh,
realistically, the Eagles, despite
Their
having very
fan base.
impressive, yeah, the fan base, the Eagles on paper on
yes,
both
the
sides of the ball,
fans.
it's very fascinating for the roster and talent they have, but ultimately, it's all Saquon too, though. So
Yeah, I mean Saquon is far and away what's
if
powered them this
Saquon has a
season.
bad game, they are not winning this game.
No, and it won't even be close if he has a bad game. To be
Mm.
honest
You
with you.
know, and people like to make fun of Jalen Hurts that he gets to coast on a good team. While some days I feel that's the truth,
Mm.
some days I do think he is worthy enough.
I mean that
But
first Super Bowl
he had
was
a really good
impressive.
first Super Bowl. He would have won the
Yeah,
MVP if they won.
yeah. No, he was
Oh,
impressive in that
but
first Super
his
Bowl.
arm strength was exposed during that final Hail Mary. It
Yeah,
wasn't even close. If you
yeah.
guys remember that.
I do, but
So
even
I
still, the play was
don't.
good. In fairness, Mahomes, honestly, Mahomes' loss in the Super Bowl was possibly
to
one of his
Brady,
best games. Yeah, to Brady,
yeah,
one of his best games. He was by himself.
Mhm.
He played that
right.
Yeah.
game alone, and he did fairly well. I mean, it wasn't necessarily a close game, but like he comported himself professionally. He didn't look like the problem, which was huge given who he was playing against. But yeah, no, I think that a loss can actually be almost more telling than a win, in some cases, which is frankly, I think part of the reason people hate the Chiefs because every time they do lose, which is rare, they take it pretty poorly.
Oh
That's
yeah. Yeah, they do. The other thing too is that the Eagles tend to not be in the media as much. You don't see fucking interviews
No, they don't.
With Hurts and Smith and AJ Brown and Saquon. We don't really get a chance to see these guys as much as Kelsey's out here doing a fucking podcast during the
He's been
middle
on
of the
TV
game.
shows, like
Yeah,
acting
I
and
mean,
stuff. He's
that's
got hosting
people
a
who
TV show. Yeah.
people are tired of him.
He's
I
He
going.
would
really
He's
say
was
going.
a beloved person to a hero. The
who
ultimate
Kelsey?
example of you either die a hero or you live long enough to become the villain.
Most
No
people
way,
still
yeah.
like Travis Kelsey.
Well, yeah, if he is
Uh,
because it's because of his association with Taylor.
Well, and they like the Kelsey brothers. They're both very
I feel
likable.
people
Most
are
people
more
still
Jason
like.
people.
Yeah, I think Jason might be the one who's more beloved from like guys. I'll just put that out there.
right,
But I
Yeah,
right.
do. I also think that when Travis Kelsey retires, the hate
that
will disappear. People
yes.
don't
There
hate
you go.
Travis Kelsey. They hate the Chiefs. He's on the Chiefs. He's one of the stars of the Chiefs. And so, like Patrick Mahomes, they hate him.
Yo, remember when he screamed at Andy Reid last Super Bowl? He literally screamed in his face.
Yeah,
That
that was all nothing.
almost any other player would get suspended, would be publicly
Mhm.
shamed.
But
But
it was all nothing.
it was
It was a
okay.
hot game.
It was okay because it's Taylor was
It
there
was
to
a
protect.
hot-headed moment in a game. I from the beginning I said that was a nothing story. But anyway,
Yeah, that's nothing. Athletes get, everyone gets worked up during a game, but
yeah, and you
I
see
would
coaches
say
do the
is
same thing.
Oh yeah, every game, emotions are running at absolute high, especially in the biggest game of your career or
Right.
season. It's like that. I think it's more personality wise. You look at some of these Eagles players; they're a lot more low key. They're a lot more humble, at least from what
Hmm.
I can tell. But the Chiefs have reason to be this cocky, and that's why a lot of people hate them, myself included. It's like I'm tired of seeing them. I'd like to see some new teams like the Bills or the Ravens
Right.
take over. But all the credit to them. I think it's just personality wise,
Yeah.
Mahomes and Kelsey. It's like, okay, we get it. You guys, mostly Kelsey with the cockiness, some of the comments, the taunting shit during games,
Hmm.
Bro
like,
gets a
you know,
taunts, no penalty. He did get fined by the NFL, but no penalty
no
And then
penalty.
what
during the
Yeah.
AFC
Mahomes with the
Championship.
Mahomes
Anybody else
slides and
that's a
Mahomes
penalty.
runs around
And
the
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 flopping.
flopping. Yeah.
Oh
No,
yeah.
it's all annoying.
Last
The
thing,
Mahomes
you know
stuff.
what's
Yeah.
very interesting during this whole tenure? Not one current NFL official ever commented. Ever.
Hmm.
You even think one would be pissed off and just write on Twitter, "Stop talking shit about me." Come
I
on,
mean,
don't you
they
think that's
can't.
They
interesting?
don't give a fuck.
They
They're
don't
making
care.
so much money, dude.
Well, and also, you know that most of those guys are like
Because they know they'll get exposed.
no, but most of those guys are like usually high-powered like lawyers and stuff. Like
Yeah, yeah, it's a second job.
it's a second job, but like not like a second job for people who are like working at like a cash register at the local convenience store. Like usually it's like very, very successful people's second job. And so like
Right.
honestly, they don't care what some, you
True, they
know,
don't, and they don't necessarily owe an explanation. I mean,
well,
well, I
definitely
think,
don't technically owe one,
I
but
think at this point, because of it's a whole narrative across the country, I feel somebody should say it, and not the retired Gene Sterators, of the
no,
world.
it should be Roger Goodell.
Bro,
Yeah,
they probably
That's
no,
have
his
shit
he.
in
job.
their contract. Though. It's all like
It
their
could be,
Yeah.
contract
it
probably
could be a
just hung
union
up.
thing too. I don't know the
No,
answer to
Roger
that,
Goodell should be handling this. He should be coming out and being
and he
like, it's
did, and he did it,
ridiculous.
and
Yeah.
he said that, and still nobody believes him. But
Well, no one's gonna believe him because they're
you know,
mad, but people are mad every day. We talk about that on our tweet cap show. No one's ever happy. So
I would say this too to put all this shit to bed. Just fucking beat the Chiefs. Just fucking beat them. Blow their
exactly,
doors off.
beat him
Fucking
30
put
right,
to
some points
0.
up and beat them. You can stop complaining about the refs if you actually go out there and beat
and
their
win.
fucking ass. And
Yeah,
that's all you can do to shut them up. To shut this narrative down is just fucking go out there, put up 70
Yeah.
on
And
them.
hey, they put 55 on the
It'll never
Commanders.
happen, but
No, but
that's the thing is like you could say that, but the Chiefs defense is really good. They
yeah.
just find ways to keep games close, and
Mhm.
that's why that's why they are where they are right now is because of that.
Yep.
Anyway.
all right. Well, we said what we had to say regarding the narrative of the Super Bowl. So
Hmm.
why don't we talk about our prop bet? Something we started last year where we will do individual props, whether it's player props, whether it's team props, whether it's a game special, a player combo, all of that. 3 individual bets that you can bet yourself. Remember, number 1, please gamble responsibly. If you have a problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. And number 2, for those who are responsible with it, let's have some fun and talk about the various props going into it that we've come up with. You can see on all our social media platforms, whether it's Instagram at Productive Conversations Podcast or Twitter at Proud Cobble Pod, we have the props right there for you between the 3 of us. And you'll also
Hmm.
see our picks against the spread, which we will do after this segment. So why don't we make our props and see if you can make a nice little parlay and get some cash out of it. So the easiest way to do it, let me give you my 3 first, then we'll do Ryan, and then we'll do Alec, and we'll do it that way. Well, you can see, I'll say mine. You tell me what you think,
Hmm.
and vice versa from there.
Yep.
So for me, I think this is how it's going to all go. So I'm going to start with at minus 162, Patrick Mahomes, 2 passing touchdowns. On my research, the one Super Bowl, though he played well, he didn't actually score a touchdown in that game, but he was able to keep the game close for that Buccaneers and Chiefs Super Bowl. But for every other Super Bowl he's won, he's had multiple touchdowns throw. He's clearly comfortable in this spot. He has the
Yep.
weapons to provide it, whether it's can throw it whether it's D Hop, whether it's Juju Smith Schuster that somehow came out of nowhere in the playoffs having a good postseason.
Mm.
As I mentioned, DeAndre Hopkins, obviously Kelsey. Worthy has been stepping up. He clearly has plenty of weapons that he can throw at least 2 touchdowns to get over to the end zone. And he's done it before here in his 5th Super Bowl. I wouldn't be surprised if he did it again. He threw 3 touchdowns last year against the 49ers, 2 against the Philadelphia 2 years ago. I think he will continue that tradition. My next one, someone who's been somewhat of a unsung hero in this posting as well, Kareem Hunt, over 43 and a half yards. While the Chiefs have been able to finally get their running game going with the return of Isaiah Pacheco, but keeping Kareem Hunt in there, who's had a pretty solid AFC Championship game, was pretty good in the AFC divisional round as well. I believe that he can get the yardage he needs, and he can even have a solid 40-yard game during this game to help his cause. But over 43 and a half yards at minus 110, I don't think that's too far fetched. Even though some concerns, maybe the Chiefs' offensive line, especially their tackles, might be a little banged up. They somehow figured it out for that Bills game, I'll tell you that, as they were able to protect Mahomes most of that game. I do believe that they can create the possible holes they need for Kareem Hunt or Isaiah Pacheco, but preferably Kareem Hunt so we can hit this prop over 43 and a half yards. And this is also mostly to the rushing defense for the Eagles not being a strong suit. And then Saquon Barkley, the golden child, he's here. The ultimate FU to the New York Giants. And maybe part of me low key, if he absolutely just goes off and actually wins the Super Bowl, that he could truly embarrass my favorite football team's front office. Maybe that's the kick in the pants we need for only making the playoffs
It's not.
twice in the last 14 years. You could agree, maybe you disagree. I could go either way with it. But you need Saquon Barkley to have a hell of a game, an extremely high number at 110 and a half rushing yards.
Wow.
I'm going to go under. He just missed that in the NFC
What?
Championship.
Going
He had
under?
107. I'm going to.
That's ballsy,
I'm
man.
going. It is a ballsy the under. I don't like doing under bets, but reckon that the game that if he has a 60-yard run to start the game like he did last week or 2 weeks ago, then we're gonna be sweating already. But I don't know. I just feel like the rush defense of the Chiefs might give some problems with him. I think they will be able to tackle Saquon. Some people are concerned about whether actually the Chiefs can bring him down. I think they will be able to pull it off with some simple Chiefs magic, postseason magic in the Andy Reid era. And I'm going to do the ballsy Saquon Barkley under 110 and a half yards. Kareem Hunt 40, over 43 and a half yards, and then Patrick Mahomes 2 passing touchdowns.
Love it.
Yeah, I mean,
Love it.
I agree with a lot of the logic there, personally. Some of my picks are even, when we get to them, are even based on some similar logic, actually. But I mean, yeah, I think the riskiest one you have is definitely that Saquon, because if this is a close game, it's going to be because Saquon has quite a few yards. And so I think that depending on how the game goes, you'll either look like, if it's a blowout, you'll probably look like a genius. But if it's close, I think Saquon's probably going to go over. That would be how I would look at that. A close game means Saquon's going over based on that prop. But I don't know if Alec agrees or disagrees with that there, but
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a high total, but for Barkley, it's obviously very doable. I don't know what his game log looks like over the playoffs, but I'm pretty sure he's cleared that line, in the last 2 games. And it's just kind of, obviously all bets are risky, but that one, it's like you said, if the Eagles want to win this game, he's gonna have to get cooking, and they're gonna have to establish that run game early and often. And they're gonna leave it all out there. It's the Super Bowl. I don't see him, you know, unless they're down big at half or something. They're obviously gonna keep running the shit out of the ball with Barkley. So,
Mhm.
but obviously it could go either way. The Chiefs are very well capable of stopping him and slowing him down and holding him to under 100 yards. 110 yards is a lot of yards. It's just the way Barkley's looked. I would not bet against him getting that. That's my thought. I personally wouldn't put money on his under just because of the way he's looked. But again, it's betting. Anything can happen, and there's a chance he could go under for sure.
And to Matt's point, you look at the Chiefs defense, and they've been a key part of keeping the games close. We talked about this
Mhm.
for the NFL. We actually talked about this very similarly um, with the Notre Dame Ohio State college football championship game. That the key to Ohio State's loss, which obviously didn't happen, would be Notre Dame running away with it fast, which is hard
Right.
to do because Ohio State's defense doesn't let you score easily. This is very much the same way. The Chiefs, the way to beat the Chiefs is to pull out ahead of them quickly by a decent margin, because then
Hmm.
by the end, Patrick Mahomes doesn't have enough time. But it's
Hmm.
hard to do that because of how skilled the defense is at keeping the game close by stopping the run in particular, but just in general keeping the game close. So I mean, this is a irresistible force and an immovable object. Like you have a phenomenal looking running back running coming up against a defense that is known for keeping games close and keeping folks out of the end zone. So I do agree with actually that part of Matt's assessment that the run game is going to be difficult because it is going to be a high priority, I'm sure, for the defense as they practice this week. And ultimately will be something that the defense is keen to stop because they know it's coming. And that's going to, one, limit his production, at least a little bit. How much will be key to how the game goes. But it's also going to mean that they're going to have to look for other avenues to score and get yards, which will take away his looks, which will also limit his chances to get the yards. So it is kind of a I can see where the under is coming from actually. I don't know. Again, I'd have to basically see how the first few drives go. If they look like they're going to march down the field early, then yeah, that they're probably safe to say he's going to go over. But if they stop
Right.
him fast, like if they stop him, 4 and out in that first drive that they have, that could be a sign that they figured out how to block that run. And yeah, I could totally see it.
Excellent work.
Definitely.
So we'll see if we can pull that off. Again, those bets equal plus 396 altogether. So about 36 over one. And I'm excited to see how close I am. So, Ryan, you want to go next with yours?
Sure. I'm gonna start with a kind of an easy one. I have Kareem Hunt 1 touchdown anytime. So
Mm-hmm.
that one kind of similar to what you said, Matt, with the yardage. Um, I do think that one of the keys to Kansas City's offense is going to have to be match the run, especially if Saquon's having a good game.
Hmm.
Um, yes, they've got, as we talked about, they got a lot of threats at the receiver position, but some of it's just mental, to be honest with you. But if someone's running through you and you don't have anyone who can respond in any way, there's just it's a problem. And so I do think that Kareem Hunt in particular is going to have to really try and match in like short bursts the kind of strength of Saquon. And I think he can. And I think that especially goal line, we might see him do that more often. So that I'm picking an on anytime on Kareem Hunt for a touchdown because at least if I had to guess, I bet you it's coming later in the game. That's a fun little extra for somebody who wants to modify the prop, but I wasn't willing to go that far with the actual what I wrote down. But I do think that yeah, at some point they're going to need a big run for a touchdown, like goal line sort of situation, and I could see them turning to Hunt to make that happen.
Definitely.
Uh, the next one. We'll go back. We'll go to the Eagles. The last two are going to be Eagles, and it's that AJ Brown with a first half touchdown. I think he'll go over on that. I think it'll be at least one, if not more. Uh, kind of that one's, I guess, a little more risky, I think, than the idea that a touchdown for Kareem Hunt is. Looking at his stats in the postseason, he's got one touchdown. He's got a total of 120 yards. He's got 9 first down receptions. So it's clear that they like to throw to him, you know, more so when they're downfield trying to gain big yards than they like to, use him to get the actual touchdowns. So I could see why it would be kind of a risk to go over the one. But I do think, again, if they're blocking Saquon, which I presume they would do, the Chiefs, I mean, if that's their focus, then it's going to be on Hurts to come up with new offensive strategies. And I think that his success in doing that will hinge on two people. The first, of course, being Brown. And so that's why I think Brown's going to have to be a big player in this game, especially because I really do think they're probably going to hold Saquon back in a way that nobody has in the last few games. Which leads me to my final bit of this new Eagles offense that they'll need to employ, which is Dallas Goedert with plus 55 yards. So I think he's going to go more than 55 yards, receiving in this game. I think he's probably going to be their first down machine every time. And so a lot of targets, a lot of, quick yards. And it's all going to be because they can't do the quick run. They can't, toss the run to get a few extra yards as well as they usually can. And so the way that they're going to have to do that is going to be through their tight end. So I think that a key to their victory is going to probably involve him. And so that's why I'm going over on the 50.5 yards for him. So those are my 3 prop picks.
Love it.
Impressive, especially the AJ Brown first half anytime touchdown.
Yeah,
He was important. He was barely used in the first 2 games of the playoffs.
I know.
And then
Yeah.
they finally used him for Washington. That damn book he was reading inspired him, I guess. Now wants another chance at this. And
Yeah,
here it is.
In general, the way I looked at it was more about how I thought this game would be played than how the previous games were played because of how different this game will be because it's against the Chiefs, because it's at the Super Bowl, neutral ground, all the whole 9 yards, a rematch from 2 years ago. I was like the old strategy was Saquon runs this thing to the finish line. I don't think that will work because it's the old strategy and everybody knows it. So they're going to have to do something different, and I think that means they're going to have to really rack up the passing and passing yards, but also the yards after catch, which is why I was looking at AJ Brown in particular to be someone to watch.
Kill him. And with that, Ryan's picks are very high at plus 3,500
Wow.
and 66.
Love it.
So you just gonna put $10 on that, you'll get $350. But you put $100, you'll get $3,000 and $3,566,000.
A lot of money right there, baby. What are the odds on the you said AJ Brown touchdown
Was
first
plus
half touchdown though?
Yeah,
First half
plus
touchdown, yeah.
360
Okay.
on that one. And the
I
Kareem
like
Hunt
that.
at plus 145, that could be a steal for you.
Mm-hmm.
Especially
Kareem
if
Hunt,
they
yeah, that's a
especially on the
safe.
goal line.
Yeah, well, that's exactly where I figured it would be. As I said in my
Yeah,
goal line, I think they're going to use him a lot.
All right. All
definitely.
right. Good stuff. Now let's hear the great Alec Reeves. What you got to say?
So I got 3 props for you. I got 2 game props and then one, or actually, sorry, 2 player props and one game prop related to scoring. So my first one is going to be Kelsey over 6.5 receptions, and that's
Yeah.
at plus 125. I
Mm-hmm.
was looking at his numbers. Obviously, he's kind of been all over the map, but I looked at 2 things. One, the fact that Zach Ertz had a shitload of catches last week for the Eagles, or excuse me, for the Commanders against the Eagles. So, meaning the tight end position can be somewhat vulnerable for the Eagles on defense. my thought is if Ertz can get 11 catches against the Eagles, why can't Kelsey get 7? It's a lot of catches, but looking at Kelsey's receiving totals for the last 3 Super Bowls he's been in, he had 6 receptions last year. He had 9 receptions last year, 6 the year before, and then in 2021 he had 10 catches in the Super Bowl. So he's been right around that number in each of the last 3 Super Bowls he's played in. So that's my first leg. Kelsey over 6.5 receptions. Second leg is Xavier Worthy over 57.5 receiving yards, and that's at -110. Um, Not really much logic there, except for Worthy's just been, a favorable target for Mahomes the last few games, especially here in the playoffs. So I figure, 57.5 seems about what he'll probably end up with. I lean over on that one. I think Worthy, he's quick as hell. If he can get in space, he can definitely hit that number. And then my last leg at -120, this last leg, the line has moved a shit ton on this. So it opened at +110 or 120. It's now moved to -120. And that's the second half being the highest scoring half out of the two halves. So all we need is more points in the second half than the first half in order for that leg to hit. And traditionally, the second half has been the higher scoring half in the Super Bowl for whatever reason. Um, so yeah, the total of those 3 legs is +575, if anyone cares. And then one other bonus prop I was gonna throw out there was just Chiefs team total over 24.5. I think
Mm-hmm.
that is another good play. That's a little more risky, obviously, but yeah, that and Devontae Smith over 50 receiving yards. I was gonna throw that one in there too, but my main 3 plays are Kelsey, Worthy, and the highest score in second half. So that's all
Bet.
I got.
Well, you can still rock and roll with that. And even with those bonus ones, still cool, and I like them,
Yeah.
So yeah, yours I think we calculated it's about +860, so 860 over one. So you
Nice.
get a nice chunk of change as well, Alec.
Yeah,
If you just put $10 there, you'll get $86. So
not
we
bad at
all can
all.
celebrate. We all can celebrate. Or if you want to throw 100, you get $860 too. But good stuff, guys. I like it all. Maybe if somebody wants to just do a super mega parlay and
To all
just
of
do all of them, who the hell
Why not?
knows?
them.
Who
Why
the hell
not?
knows?
I'll do it.
And let's put it like $2 on it and see what happens, and it'll
The
be
super
fun.
mega parlay.
You never
Like
know, brother.
You never know. Like I said, just go to specifically on Instagram at Productive Conversations Podcast and Twitter at Prod Combo Pod. We have it pinned for you the props for the Productive Conversations picks for Super Bowl 59. So let's get to it right now. Let's make our picks against the spread once and for all. The spread opened at -1.5 for Kansas City. It hasn't moved once in the past week and a half. So let me just say, and I'll kick it off. As I learned 2 years ago, you just can't bet against Patrick Mahomes. Of course, he has the ability himself to win these games, but honestly, because of narratives, because the refs seem to go more the Chiefs' way, wouldn't be that much of a surprise if they win by a walk-off touchdown like they did last year in overtime, or if they just win by a field goal. You just can't. I mean, we talked all the things. Yes, they have a solid defense that might prevent Philly from scoring, with the exception of Saquon. The key is to stop Saquon. Yes, this team can easily score when they need to. Yes, but ultimately, it's just the Chiefs and the Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, Travis Kelsey, Chris Jones era. They just always win these one possession games each and every single time. They're on a 17 game one possession. So they're on a 17 game one one score game. That's it. So just gonna go against history this time and pick the Chiefs -1.5. They just always freaking do it.
Or like a
Ryan, you want to go
can't
What about
next?
say
you,
I
Alec?
disagree.
About to say, what about you? I think we all actually
Um,
have the same thing written down, but
so I definitely was a little torn, and I really haven't placed many bets on the spread. But if I had to pick, I'm going to lean Chiefs as well. Um, like everything Matt said, they find ways to win these close games, and I don't see this one being any different. Could the Eagles win? For sure. Would I love to see the Eagles win? Honestly, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think I would. But I will definitely pick Kansas City minus the 1.5. I'll take them to lay the points there and see if they can pull off the three-peat.
yeah, I'll say that my props are all basically indicative of an Eagles win, which is not what I picked for what's going to happen.
Mm,
So,
I hate when that happens.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you're either going to have to be right about the end result, or you're going to have to be right on the props. I don't think you'll get both. And so
Right.
I agree with both Matt and Alec. I'm taking the -1.5 for the Chiefs. I don't. I think it'd be
Yeah.
crazy not to.
sometimes it just
Right.
be like that.
Yeah, it'd be crazy not to.
It just
Even
be
for a
like that.
podcast, it would be crazy not to.
Yeah, I said the same thing against the Bills. I was like, I mean, I had a ton of money out on Buffalo, and I wanted to see them win so bad. But I said to myself, I'm fucking crazy for betting against the Chiefs. The way that their
hmm
season's gone, the way the refs calls have been going, and the history between Mahomes beating Allen and all that. And I still bet it, and I still lost, and I'm still sitting here like, oh, they probably should have won. But yeah, it's just insane to bet against him at this point. But yeah, I mean, I'm hoping for a close game. I'm hoping this will be a dogfight of a game, which I think it will. And but yeah, again, I'm not betting against the fucking Chiefs. I just can't. I just can't do
That's honestly
it.
fine. That's a good enough reason. And with that, though, our productive conversation has come to an end. That is our preview for Super Bowl 59. And even though it is true that I can't wait for this Super Bowl to end, when it does happen, let's try and enjoy every second we can. There are
course.
some pretty cool commercials out. I don't know if you guys have seen already. The
Couple.
I really liked the Dunkin' Donuts commercial. Did you see the one with Jeremy Strong?
No, I have not. They
I
got him to
probably
do a
should.
Dunkin' Donuts commercial?
I don't. Do you want me to spoil it or let you see it?
I mean, yeah, let me see it. But that's if they did, that's crazy.
Definitely
He's
let
like a
me know
real
when you
actor.
did. Yes, and they play into that. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. Okay.
So there's that. They have the reunion of how when Harry met Sally for something. I don't know. There's some cool trailers that'll come out. Then we have Kendrick Lamar and SZA for the halftime show, and we'll see once and for all. Will Kendrick do Not Like Us, that just won Record of the Year and Song of the Year Grammys?
Yeah.
He's got to do it, huh?
He got the what's it called? He got the crowd at
Permission?
the Grammys. No, he got the
Oh
crowd at
yeah,
the Grammys to
yeah.
do
It's
the
a
A
sing it.
minor. So I
That's
think
Hey,
that
so wild.
it will be interesting to see
minor.
if he. I mean, it'll be interesting to see if he
Can
does the entire song or if he maybe skips one word in particular.
can you imagine though? Think
Gets a whole
about it.
stadium to say that.
Not only that, but the fact that, bro, your diss track not only just killed the credibility of your career, not only just ripped the heart out of Drake's, I don't know, spirit, but bro was rewarded with the Grammy as the very best song of the year. Out of the literal millions of songs, this
That's
diss
wild.
track coming out of man's character, you are rewarded.
Mhm.
Not only the most streamed song in the world, but you were literally rewarded with the highest honor a
Mhm.
musician can receive.
Yeah, it's yeah. No, it's
he,
like he
he
took
got
the low
caught.
road and won. Took the low road and won. And you know what? Doesn't happen often, but when it does, it's pretty cool.
So this is nuts. So Kendrick has 20 Grammys, just straight up 20 Grammys. Just
Yeah.
after this week, 20 damn Grammys, and he can look at
hmm
a few of them. It's like, damn, that's just for me being mad at Drake.
Yeah, right.
And
Actually, I didn't know that he had 20. That's a lot of Grammys for Kendrick.
yeah, I think it's like
Wins? Like that's 20 wins?
20 wins. Yeah,
Jeez. Why was everybody
Wow.
mad at Beyonce? Everyone was all
A
mad
lot of hardware.
Beyonce
I know,
got
right?
some wins. She's got like 32. I'm like, not Drake, Kendrick's got almost as many. I'm like,
And
Kendrick's on his way up to 32. All he has to do is get mad at, I don't know, Andre 3000 or something.
well, we'll see how that all unfolds. But great work, Ryan. Great work, Alec. We'll see you at the end of the week with another tweet cap.
Yes, sir.
We'll have
Good
another.
talk, man.
We'll have a reaction on Monday for the Super Bowl and cap off the NFL season from there. It's been real. The NFL season really ended during divisional weekend.
Yep.
But we're gonna miss it, guys. So we will see what happens, and hopefully it's a good game. That's all I can ask for.
Yep.
I really am not, for the first time ever. I don't want a winner, and I'm not going to choose who I want to win. So I just want to win money. So let's
Oh,
do
you go.
that. Let's do that. Plus,
Let's do it.
pitchers and catchers will be right after there. So got something else to look forward to there.
Let's get
Alec
it, baby.
Reeves, Ryan Page, y'all the best. Let's enjoy the Super Bowl. Remember, Sunday, 6 o'clock on Fox.
Let's do it.